here we go, finally. Here we go. I've been trying to get in here for 10 minutes, but I'm here. That's all that counts. I hope that you're able to get in a little easier than I did. So, hi, I'm Deb Johnson. I'm back from my retreat. Got lots to talk about, lots to show you today, and lots to hope. Let's try this again. I hope I hear lots about your Thanksgiving weekend, and I hope you had a great time. So it's so good to be back in my wonderful, warm studio that I rushed around like mad and cleaned. Because when I come home from Kiwi wanted to see you. So let's see. Bonnie is here. I am tickled. Looks like 4 people are here. Let me try to open my eyes. I feel like I'm getting a cold. So if I look sleepy, I am. Oh, my goodness, Kiwi. You want to see them? Kiwi is looking at me on the computer. I think she's just a wee bit confused. Come up, step up. Now, Kiwi, you can't get in the way. Say hello. Show off your beautiful tail. So Kiwi is doing quite well, but she thinks she needs to, what she likes is Kiwi has learned, and Melissa is here. Kiwi has learned that if she goes down on the computer and goes to the screen and kind of bumps it a little, that I'll put her favorite video on. She has a video of green cheeks like her playing, and that's her favorite thing, and that's what she's trying to get back down to now. She's like, Mom, put my video on. So such is my life. But anyway, let's see. Melissa's here and Bonnie's here. I see about 6 people are here, but they might be shy, and that's okay. So we've got a lot of exciting things to talk about today, and I'll start just by giving you a little tease. Miss Bonnie wrote me yesterday and said, you know, I have a panel. You know, especially this time of year, you see a lot of these Christmas panels with Santa Claus or snowmen or whatever. And people want to know, well, how can I make it look like a window that you're looking out and seeing the scene? So I said, I think I could do that. So I went online and did my research because, boy, especially if you go to Pinterest, there's so many interesting things to see out there. So then after that, I decided what did I like or didn't like about each one. And then that way it would help me know what to choose. Kiwi is being rambunctious today. She might be asked to leave if she doesn't settle down. She's a very determined bird, and she wants to see her video, and it's like, if you don't let me see my video, I'm going to keep acting up. But you know what? I am a little bit bigger than she is. So she's about 3 ounces, so I don't think she stands a chance. But what are you doing? What are you doing, huh? So, but I went on EQ8. Now, I'm going to get ready. I think I'm going to put her away first, and then I'm going to get ready and show you. I hopefully can do a little slideshow of all the different attic windows patterns, because that's what these usually are called. And I'll get ready and show you the attic windows quilts that I saw and what I like or don't like about each one. Now, understand, it's just my opinion. And I give it to you freely, and sometimes that's all it's worth. So let me put, hi, Sonia. Let me put Kiwi back on her stand because she's, her personality has developed very well, as you can see. So let me get her straight, and then I'll be right back, and we'll work on this. So hold on just a second. Okay. Miss Kiwi, you have got to go back up here, girlfriend. All right. Stay. Stay. All right. So now I'm going to set my laptop up here. Here I am. So I'm going to set my laptop up here and let's see if we can take a look. Hold on a second. Don't you like seeing me this close? Let me try to do this. Hold on, guys. All right. Let me see if I can set this up. Right now I've got y'all here, but I'm going to see. I'm so glad to see people here. You're quiet for a little bit. You're churning butter. Oh, that is so cool. With a real churn or in a container or what? Or am I being gullible again? I'm so easy to get. So here we go. I'm going to go to pictures. Here, whoops. I'm going to go back up. Let me see. Oh, poo. I just had it. Let me just search. No thing. Pictures. Attic windows. Yay. You know, that's what happens. I put it in a safe place and then I can't find it. All right. So I do have a copy of a free pattern here. Let's see if you can see this. Overlooking the Rose Arbor. And it's found at Michael Miller Fabrics. And here is a window. Now I like this. And let me tell you a little bit about it if that's okay. I like the edge somewhat. It's a little busy to me, but I think she meant it to look like a stone cabin. And I like this fabric that's kind of, you know, mimics a wood trim maybe. And I like that there's not too much blocking the view of the panel behind. But I have this pattern, and when I'm all done with our chat today, I will put a link to this down below. Okay? So, and I think, yeah, it has cut out, right? Yeah, it has full instructions, cut out, yardage needs, all of that. Okay, so I will put that link. Now, I'm going to go, whoops, nope, this is how I solved my problem. Let's go here. Let's see if I can make this do a slideshow, guys. Maybe not. Okay. All right, so I'll open one at a time. All right, I thought this one was probably one of my favorites. And in fact, let me get this lamp. I'm going to turn this lamp off so you can see it better. If it will show it to me. Whoops. My computer has been acting up lately. Let me see. Edit with photos. Let me see. All right. So this one I like. Let me see if I can enlarge it just a little. Oop, not that much. Okay. Now, I can't see you right now, so I'm hoping y'all can see this. I thought this was rather fascinating. And what they have is they have 2 points of shadow. Unfortunately, you wouldn't have a highlight, sunlight hitting up here. You have to, when you want this to work, you have to decide where's the sun coming from or any light source. If it's something inside view, where's your lamp coming from? I like that they put a medium color right here compared to this dark contrast. I like that they did the highlight color here. So I would assume that the sun is coming from this direction. But that means that these two should be slightly darker and these would be darker than those because they are definitely in the shadows. But I thought this was a pretty nicely done attic windows. Okay, now let me see if I can go to the next one. This is a booklet I saw at a site, and I thought it was interesting, and it's a rather basic attic windows. What I do not like is how wide, because these are supposed to be the muntins of the windows, and they're just a little too wide. But this is, as you can see, with all the different scenes in these little windows, it's not really supposed to be a window view. So I think from that respect, it doesn't apply. Now, this is one I thought of when I thought of Bonnie's, panel. And I really like this. There's a lot good here to see. I like the fact that she has made the window size based on what you're going to be seeing out of that particular pane of glass. And this cottage was too pretty to break up. She put just a little bit over here and a little bit of it there. So she made this center wider. Excellent job. I also love that she used a wood tone fabric, a wood pattern fabric for the muntins. And I like this dark right across here because the muntins have a front edge, what would be painted on the inside. This would be the part of the muntin that sticks out to the outside. I thought this was very pretty, and I think she lets the panel be the star. The border is narrow, and it doesn't take away from this. Now, let me see if I want to just interrupt one thing. Whoops, not that. Okay, are you still able to see me? It's not a panel, but actually just fabric. I don't, oh boy, let me see. Okay, so you are able to, a Kilner butter churner, cool. And Michelle is here, yay, Michelle. Let me see something a second here. Let me see if I don't know what I did with your email. So if you want to send me another email, I will, of the fabric hunt, I will definitely check it. All right, so we'll go back to our slideshow. And here we are. All right, so now we'll go to another one. Now this one was lovely, but it's not really meant to be a window view. And I'll show you why. Because each of the scenes is very distinct. So the fact that she's got these wide, supposedly windowsills and muntins, that's not a problem. Because, in fact, it helps since each scene, this is no way this is one view. So, but I thought the colors, everything works well with this. I liked it. All right, now let's go to another one. Here's one that I don't like, and I'm sorry. Wait a minute, I shouldn't say that because it's not my favorite. That's what I should say. But I wish you'd used a mottled or something fabric here or pattern fabric, because it make this part, this looks more realistic. This part looks a little animated, drawn, painted, not as realistic as the view out there. Maybe they did it so as not to take away from the view. This is another one of those that I wouldn't have put the highlight color up here where you know there's going to be a shadow. So I would have had a third color. So you've got this dark, you've got the highlight, and I would have had a third color that would have gone here. Or even if you used one of these. But anyway, and these are a little bit wide for me, but all in all, I mean, it works if this fabric hadn't have been quite so monotone. I thought this was kind of neat. It's not an attic window, but they've put in the black strips that separate it to give it a window effect. And I love what they've done in the border. I love the offset pinwheels, and I love the appliqued leaves. So I thought this was very impressive. Here is a very cute. Let me see if I can enlarge this for you. But is that the cutest moose looking in your window? And in this case, I love it. The moose takes center stage. So they only did very narrow stripping of the border fabric to act as a thin muntin. And I think that is absolutely cute. So very well done. And I love there's just a tiny binding that is darker. So everything is neat, tidy, and set off. And that moose is the star. And he should be. He's cute as a button. Here is a window, but it's more of a fantasy window. Let me see if I can get you in just a little closer here. Okay. And this is a main scene, and these are all little offshoots. Now, maybe they're from one panel, but if they were very cut up. And once again, I like how they have a big window here for the main design. I thought that was good. These little sills and muntins are a little wide for me. And, maybe I'm just too picky. This is that same snow scene again. And here's a Santa. This brings me to something I'd like to talk to you about. A lot of times when I see these, they will bother me. And I'll tell you why they bother me. Those are pretty substantial window pane muntins. They're pretty substantial. And what can happen, although it doesn't look very noticeable in this, but if you just cut the panel and where this stops, this one begins, it can distort the image to the point where Santa looks silly. Now, looks like they did a pretty good job on this one of trying not to make that happen. But you either have to trim off a little bit of the next panel or drop it down a touch. But make sure you don't have half of his face here and the whole other half here, even though there's 3 inches of space in between. So do you see what I'm saying? So, but I thought they handled this pretty well. But honestly, this is my opinion only. Well, they handled the shading perfectly. Because just picture the moonlight coming in, maybe snow on the windows. They handled this. You got dark, medium, and then the highlight. Beautiful. But the one thing that I would rather, that Santa to me is the star. And he gets a little bit lost behind the thickness of these muntins. So that's one of the things I was going to suggest to Bonnie. And here is a man holding that quilt with the cottage. Only criticism I have is this up here should have been a little darker because that would be under shadow. And you know what? I used to paint. So maybe I'm just a little pickier and most people aren't going to notice. I think this is lovely. Let me tell you why. Nice thin window. Because to me, when I see this, I don't see the quilt. I see the beautiful panel. And it really gives a feeling of looking out a window in spring. So I think that's just beautiful. Let's see. Now, the window parts are so thick that, and here we go. Remember I told you about be careful how you cut the panel? That sheep right here, let me see if I can zoom you in a little closer. That sheep has the biggest butt of any sheep I've ever seen. So, whoops, I think I went too far. Okay, I don't know if you can see this, but that is one. Look at it. The sheep butt goes from here over to here. So I think I'd have done a little trimming. And you can just, trim out a little section like this. So, but you just have to decide where you're going to place it. I love that they actually placed it a little off center so that the snowman could be in the middle. But if these were narrower, I think you would enjoy it a lot more and the sheep wouldn't have quite as wide a butt. So I know sheep anatomy. My daughters did 4-H and that's just too wide. And here is another example that this you can see where the antler started going off here, right there where they cut it. And here it is still up here. And if you didn't know that much about anatomy, you might not notice, but just be careful how tall you're going to make those antlers. Here's another one that's really cute, and it's a whole bunch of different scenes. So that is fine. That is fine to put like this, because what this becomes, instead of a window, to me it becomes a little cubby, like a shelf system with cute little things put in it, and I think it's beautiful. So let's go to another one. I thought this was kind of neat. The only thing I would say, again, is that sunset panel is gorgeous, but what do you see first? The first thing my eyes see is all of this. And if they had gone darker with this, then I think that it would have been a lot more effective. But at least on the very narrow front of this, go dark. And also if it's sunset, you're not going to have all this reflecting. Although from here, it looks like it's kind of reflecting from the inside. See the way it's angled? So that's reflecting from the light inside. And in fact, you know what? They put the shadows here. So that was good. But this stops your view from seeing the gorgeous sunset on the panel. All right, let's see. But it's still beautiful work. Okay, this is cool because it looks like a bay window, if you've ever had a bay window. And I like it, but again, the first thing I see is the mechanics of the window. And you don't really enjoy the panel because it's too separated. It's too tiny and all apart from each other. Okay, let's see. Here's one. I like the quilting in this one. I like that they, kind of made it look like, molding with the line, with the shadow lines. I kind of wish this was a little narrower, but she handled it so well everywhere else. It's still a nice piece. And I understand when you're making these blocks, and especially if you're doing mitered corners, you feel like, they have to be substantial enough. But you just have to decide what you want to show up best. Now, see, here we go. We've got the same basic kind of idea. But look how having these narrower, look how you now see the outdoor scene much better. And I love the lighter sides and the darker here. So this would say your light source is coming from this way. You see what I'm saying? And it's very easy to see right where your light source is coming from because she's done such a great job with her shadowing. And I think having a darker inner frame right here is very important. I know inside your house you probably have your windows painted white, but the problem with that is it stops your eye from looking to the outside. In fact, in my sunroom, I painted all the wood around the windows a green that blends into the outside, because if you painted it white, it would stop your eye. And I want the eye to continue, because the beautiful thing about my sunroom is the view beyond the windows. So just remember that this allows your eye to go through. So excellent choice with that. And this one's a nice one too. I love the idea that the snow has fallen on the edge of the windows. It's a little wide in here, but that's a personal choice. This is a cute one. And she knew that if she cut this up, Santa could end up having a very unusually wide head and body, and the tree would look odd. So I love the very simple. Instead of doing the 3D attic windows, they just did a very simple window pane front. I think that's beautiful. And here's another thought. Okay, in this, they wanted the window to look like stained glass. I think this is very effective. And you would have to cut these pieces on the bias to get them to go around the arches. But otherwise, you could just, these are just simple little inserts into the fabric. So I think this is actually very lovely. I think that's our last one. Yeah, this was just a, here is another. This is a more realistic muntin. Whoops, let me come in a little bit more for you to see. I really like this. And let me, whoops, get it. I really like this. So if you can emulate this, I think it's a good thing. Now here you can see that the light source is coming from this way, outside as well as inside. I think it's very pretty. I think that's it. All right. Well, thank you for putting up with that. And, whoops, let me get rid of this. Okay. All right. So, whoa, that's really big. Back out. Whoops. All right. All right. So I hope I gave you some things to think about, because that's what, here we go. Sorry. Okay. Now, I hope I gave you some things to think about, because that's what I like to do. Is I love, you know, all of the options are open, and you get to choose which ones that you want to use. So now, in saying all of this, I went online and I did up. Bonnie told me that her space was 36 inches wide. So I just went in and quickly designed. I don't see the color copy of the one I had. Here it is. Okay. And so here's what I did. And this one is 32.5 inches by 42.25 inches. And let's say you didn't want it this long, then just cut one row off. But I stuck with what I liked. You see the different shades, like if this is the inside of the windowsill. So I don't have that many fabrics in my EQ, and so I use what I've got. But then you have this dark, because that, remember, that gave it a definition, and then the highlight and the less lighted pieces. And and I did the narrower muntins. So here is what, I'm going to try to hold it close because it's a black and white, but it's done faintly. But there are different, whoops, whoa, it's losing, hold on, guys. You know what? My camera lens, I think, is dirty. Hello. Let me, hold on just a second. Taking this to the retreat might have gotten it a wee bit dirty. So, all right. What I'm trying to show you, and you won't be able to see it, but the corners of the windows, look there. You see that? They're half square triangles. Now, you get to decide, that is called a Y seam. Where, let me show you again. Okay, where this comes together, see how it's one color coming down over at an angle, then this one starts at the same 45-degree angle and goes here and has a blunt up and down in. So this right here is called a Y seam, because if you look at it, it makes a Y, a piece out here and a piece this way. And if you had a thing coming down, it's a Y. A lot of people are afraid of Y seams. You don't have to be. And I tell people, if you're nervous about doing a Y seam, do it by hand. Because the machine, it can make things harder. If it's a hard technique to do, try it by hand, and then you can do it by machine. But what you would do with a Y seam is you would stop sewing. You're sewing down here. Stop sewing 1/4 inch before the bottom, because you have to leave that open so that you can twist the fabric and sew the other part of the Y. And then when it's all done, then you can sew that last 1/4 of an inch. But let's say you're in a hurry and you don't want to sew Y seams because that makes you crazy. I've got a great tip, and this is one I've used myself. You make a half square triangle, and you make it the same width as the part coming this way and the part coming this way. So you start out, add 7/8 of an inch. Let's say that's your sashing, because that's basically what it is. Let's say this sashing is 3 inches wide here, okay? So start by cutting 2 squares, 3 7/8 inch wide, each side. Or some people say just make it 4 and trim it down to what you need. And that's what you do. Because you sew, you take the 2 squares, let's say you make 2 4-inch squares, and you either draw a line diagonally or fold the fabric to make triangle shape. Press it, and that way you'll have your diagonal press line that you can use. And then you sew a 1/4 of an inch down each side of that, cut it down the middle, press to the dark. You've got 2 half square triangles. So then you would want to go ahead and trim them down to be the same width as your sashing, as the yellow or the white, Okay, so that's just a little half square triangle, which means no Y seams, which means you sew this yellow up against the blue square and you stop right there. Then you sew this white to the half square triangle, and then you come along and sew it to this piece already sewn together all the way across. How simple is that? And if you're careful with your seams and you press well, you hardly notice. So if you're a purist, you do Y seams. If you want to get it done without pulling your hair out, you do half square triangles. And you just have to remember to use those 2 colors. So I think Bonnie likes this. So anyway, the pattern I sent Bonnie, I already sent you by email all of this. And the cutting instructions are, and you can adjust these whichever way you want, but I just kind of aimed for that 30, maximum 36 wide, which I kept it just under. And you know, you can always adjust the borders, add something else on the border. But this EQ8, I have an option to how do you want to print the instructions? And I said rotary cutting because I assumed she might want to do the half square triangles. So does that make any sense, guys? Does that make any sense? And I've given you the slideshow because I wanted you to be able to see all the different varieties. And let me tell you, this close to Christmas, you can go buy yourself a wonderful holiday panel and you can have that quilt done in just a couple of hours. I promise you can. So I have one more thing to show you. I'm going to show you the actual mechanics of the blocks. I've got some really good copies of those. I think I sent them to you, Bonnie, but I can check. And anybody else who would like a copy of the pattern I did in EQ8, I'll be glad. I'm going to post my email down there, and I'll be glad to send it to you. Why reinvent the wheel? All right. So now what I'm going to do, let me lower this down. Okay. And I'll zoom in just a little. Whoop. Okay. Now let me go back to my folder and bring up and go to here and how to. Okay, here we go. And I named this my Bonnie's attic window. But here is the traditional attic window block. Okay. Whoops. I don't know if you can see it good. Oh, that's right. I've got to turn off my light. Hold on, guys. All right. So now you can see this is a traditional attic window. I wish it wasn't so crooked for you. Okay, so this is a traditional attic window, and this is the Y seam. So what I was explaining, and this way, it's good to listen to this just because it'll help you understand the Y seam. With a Y seam, it's created because you have a square here, and you have two pieces here that come down to an angle. A Y seam is if you could cut this 45 degrees, although remember, you'd have to have an extra 1/4 inch on either side of that seam. So I'll show you more about that in a minute. But let's say you've got these pieces ready. You would sew all the way down, stop a 1/4 inch here, then sew this piece on all the way down, stop a 1/4 inch there. And then that way you would fold this in half across here, sew that angle, then come back and touch up anything in there if you need to. So this is a traditional. Now let me show you a couple other things I have here. All right, here is one way you could do a traditional Y seam. It's a little easier than trying to figure out exactly how to cut a 45-degree angle. What they did, they ran the piece longer. See here? This piece, they had to put the line just to show you, but this piece would actually run longer, and this piece would run longer, and you would do like you end up with one of your borders when you do a mitered corner. And you know you do that by bringing these. Well, what I do is I bring it down to this point. I fold it to where it's a 45-degree angle. I press it. Then I move it out of the way. I do this one. I fold it at a 45-degree angle and press it. And see how close you can get those to match? I do a basting stitch on my machine. If I'm happy with it, then I come back over it with a nice tight stitch. Then you just trim off these, and there you go. So it's just, that's a 45-degree angle. Some people lay them this way and this way. Lay a ruler here with the 45-degree angle line, draw a line. You can do that too. All right. So now let's go to the next. Yep. This is that again. It says mitering a corner for a 45-degree angle takes some practice. So you have excess fabric for your window frame. The darker circles indicate the coming stitching line that you will create to give the block dimension. The lighter circles up here shows how you will fold your square in order to get the mitered seam. So what they're telling you is to fold this square down to here, and that way you get a perfect diagonal. So you could have sewn to here, then fold it, and it would show you exactly where to stitch to get that straight diagonal. All right, let's go on to this. And whoever did these, thank you so much for this. I love the internet and the generous people who share so much of what they know. All right, so here is, this is dark blue, this is floral print, this is medium blue. And this shows how to, that you put a half square triangle in the corner instead of trying to miter it. To me, this makes very easy. And if you trim it just right, and you know how to trim them on the 40, when you trim them down, and this is something Michelle Lang does really good. Michelle, she makes them larger and then takes a ruler, puts the 45-degree line there and trims them to the exact size. And if you do that and you have these matching right where they should, and you can have them match in perfectly in the corners by using a square ruler with a 45-degree line, then you just sew. You can decide. You could sew this to this and this to this and then put this on this, or you can sew this to this, and then put them together along here. So it's very simple. And it sure makes easy work of it. You can go online and look, and here it is without the words and stuff on it. Another view to show you. And there we go. So A is one fabric, B is another. C, well, no, these are steps. That's not fabric. This is steps. So I don't know why they're listed as A, B, and C, because that's not correct. They must have had a different reason. But anyway, because this would be this fabric, and this would be this fabric, and this would be your third fabric. One fabric, two fabrics, a third fabric. So I'm not sure what the A, B, or C means, but it just showed you that. All right. And anybody that wants it, I will send this. I think is my, boy, this is so faded, but this is what I did for Miss Bonnie. All right. So I think that gives you the changing seasons attic window. Here's another. Oh, this is a good view to show you. Okay. Now this is a little bit thick in here, this part right here, but it shows you the the half square triangle, pardon me. It shows you the half square triangle. The one thing I don't like about this is it doesn't have, you see how you have this? It doesn't have that going across, so that makes it an odd looking window. But anyway, all right, well, there we go. I hope that gave you, whoops, sorry. I hope that gave you some idea of what you could do with a holiday panel. And I think, now my camera's all a mess. I need my smart man who knows how to do this. Oh boy, we don't want to see me that close. No way. Hold on, guys. Let me try to get this from being so cockeyed. Ah, there's my little snowman quilt I made at the retreat. Gosh, I had fun with that. Oops, sorry. I did. I almost thought I wanted to brag about it. All right, let me put this back here, ladies, and I will be right there. Whoa. Okay. Now I have to bring that down. Little technical difficulties here. Ugh. All right. So, turn back on my lamp. Ooh. Right. Okay. So, I hope I made it clear. I hope I didn't confuse you more. But my desire was just to help you feel like you could do it very easily. My bird has jumped down. Come here, Kiwi. Come on, Kiwi. She jumped down and is looking to be a part of everything again. All right, let me get back to my windows, guys. Here, yep. Okay, so anyway, did it sound doable? Does anyone have any questions? Because it's sent again to my email. Good. Okay. I'm going to check my email and see Bonnie's fabric. All right. Ooh, that is pretty. Okay, let me get it up. Oh, honey, that's beautiful. And you know what I would do is you would want to design it, I think, to keep the church in one pane and the other fabric in another pane. So instead of having, you're right, I should have kept looking at your fabric first. I would have one pane with that church. I wonder how you could do it. My necklace came off. I almost wonder if you would want a wide pane for the church, a narrow pane, and then another wider pane for the sweet house that's there. And I like you've got houses up top, and with a Christmas tree underneath them. So you could have, oh, that is so cute. You could have the Christmas tree and the house above the Christmas tree, like 2 rows. I think I would do that. I'm going to have to design another one for you, aren't I? I didn't take that into consideration. So, I like the idea of a 3-pane window with one narrower because it gives it a little bit more excitement instead of just having 2 over 2. But hey, Kiwi, come on. You know, it amazes me. This bird, who's not even 3 ounces, hops down off the counter for her playpen, and then crawls under and keeps pecking at my feet until I pick her up. That is a bold little bird, isn't it? But anyway, yeah, Bonnie, I think we're going to have to, or maybe the measurements I send you, you can cut some strips and kind of play with it. I had a piece of fabric I was going to show you that I think would work really well with this kind of thing. I got it at the retreat, and I'm thinking this might be pretty. But I'm going to have to put some time into thinking, where do I want to separate it? What colors do I want the window to be? Because this has so much in it. I don't want to compete with it. I want this to show. So that's something for me to think. Let me grab, hold on. So hold on just a second. Let me put her away and grab the frame. Come here, good girl. You are a mess. You are a mess. Okay. All righty. All right. Here we go. What I had today, I was looking around thinking, what do I want to show them today? Oh, let me get back to the main screen. But Bonnie, thank you for sending that again, sweetie, because that way, it's so funny. I saw your idea about an attic window and a panel, and I ran with it and forgot to check. I knew your fabric was beautiful, but I forgot to check where the designs were. So let me put this away and now show you this. All right. On the retreat, at the retreat, I showed you this a bunch, but I'm still so tickled with it. And I thought I would show you a couple things up close, but I'm so tickled about this that I'm like a little kid. Look what I made. It's nice after quilting for 30 years when you can still get excited about something you made. So, all right. This was the free, I put it on Yahoo and I put it on the retreat. It's a free little pattern, 16 inches square, 16 inches. And I used fleece, white fleece for the snowmen's faces to give them that dimension. And then, Anne, thank you for the buttons. I forgot to bring my black buttons, but she went and bought a big bag of black buttons before the retreat and gave me mine. So thank you, Anne. Then I took some flannel. This is the back side of the flannel. The front side of the flannel is very dark, but I wanted it to look like an old wool cap. And Anne shared her wool for the noses. So I have some bright orange and some dull orange. This one, I just decided he needed glasses. He just needed them. So he has them. And these are supposed to be earmuffs down there. And there's a scarf here, and I ran it off the edge, which I like. I love doing that. It's kind of like a little trick to the eye. And let me see. I've got a top hat. I've got a scrunchy old hat. But I just had fun with this. Now, the center, you were supposed to take and make a snowflake out of fabric. I'm too lazy. So what I did is I happened to take some glue and glitter for a Make It, Take It that I'll be showing you next week. And I thought, use that glue and the glitter and make your own snowflake. So I did. This is my snowflake. It took 2 days to dry. So don't give it plenty of time to dry, and don't keep touching it to see if it's there yet. But anyway, was that fun? 16 inches, I did this in 3 hours. I mean, easy, easy peasy. And not to be punny, but these are snowball blocks. So it's just the snowman face with the little squares in the corner to round it off. Ha ha, snowman out of snowball blocks. Ha. So anyway, enough of that. But I'm real tickled with it. I can't. In fact, you know, I look at it and I think, oh, I should make one for each of my kids. And I'm thinking, really? So this is a quilt that I'm going to take it down so I can show you better. I did this ages ago. Ages ago. I was still a new quilter. And I saw this and thought, you know, I like to show you the good and bad and the ugly, because that's, I mean, let's be honest. That's what it really is. Life is real, okay? So what this was is the guild I first belonged to back in Maryland, Quilters by the Bay. One of the women, they would do these programs once a month, and somebody would run a program and teach you something they knew how to do. And so what we did is we took pearl cotton or DMC, and we outlined a pattern. And she had coloring books and things we could use to draw something that we wanted to do, to make. So I wanted to do a basket of flowers, forget-me-nots and tulips, right? And we took the right color, or as close as we could get, the DMC or pearl cotton, and we outlined it. And then we took crayons and we very carefully, trying to use a little bit of shading, we colored on the fabric, the basket and the flowers. Then we covered it with a piece of disposable muslin, and we pressed it to get the wax out and just try to leave the color behind. So that was my first experience. Well, at the retreat, I ended up showing you this woman who is so talented, Roseanne Parinello, and she showed her coloring, which was a lot prettier than mine. It was a lot more subtle and careful. And me, I was in third grade again, coloring, I guess, in my mind. But then she said, okay, take this home and put a border around it. Well, I put a John Flynn braided border, and I think it's pretty. Maybe a little too subtle, but it's pretty. But I'm going to hold this up and see if you noticed how wavy the border is. I can't get it to lay straight. Now, it's not horrible. When I finally quilt it, I can probably ease it in with the quilting. But what I wanted to show you about this wavy quilt is, look at this corner, how wavy it is. See how it's just, it won't lay flat. And I've already starched it and pressed it as flat as it would get. And that's the best it would do. But you know what? That's not such a bad thing. And let me tell you why. Because I was working above my grade level. And I was still a relatively new quilter. But it's good that I already was showing signs that I wanted to learn and do more. And you know what? That's how we learn. So I will very carefully try to quilt the excess, ease in the excess border. I will measure across the middle both ways and put something, I don't know, whether I do it with my binding or whether I run one, maybe the blue or something around the edge, and I will try to harness it back in just a little. I can also wet it and really press in the areas that are a little too full, and then don't move it until it's cool so it tries to shrink it up a little. But I will make sure that I get this quilted and enjoy this, because I like having my quilts that I've done over the years to see the progress I've made, because we do make great, great progress. So anyway, so I like this. I like it. And it shows that I've learned something. It also shows that I loved quilting and grabbed the bull by the horns and wanted to do everything I could, and I will. So let's see what y'all are saying. Okay. All right. Hi, Kimberly Smith. How are you? Well, thank you for that. Okay, she said my saturation matches the fabric. Thank you. You know, I'm the kind of gal that if a little bit is good, a whole bunch can only be better. And that's kind of how I live my life. So what can you say? What can you say? Thank you, sweetie. All right, now. All right. Good for you, Bonnie, for going with the half square triangle. Really, I mean, some people need bragging rights, but the rest of us just want to move on and make more things. I mean, daylight's burning. Let's get going. So let me see if I can drop this. Oh, yeah, I can drop this down. I don't like looking at the top of my head. So, all right. So now I've covered the attic windows. Hold on, guys. I am trying to fix this. Okay. I want it more like we're sitting side by side talking. Not, you know, oh, look, there's the top of her head. So, okay. I'm really excited. I've got to get going. I'm back home. Do I look crooked? I'm having a hard time. I got to get Mark to... Mark, please help me fix this stupid thing. Okay. Now, that's better. Hello. All right. So let me get this out of the way. Oh, I'm supposed to be showing you this. I don't know if you remember, but before I went to the retreat, I had this, what do you call it? It's where you can hang up clothes. It's like a portable wardrobe, you know, just this frame. And every week I was hanging stuff on it. And then I found a big piece of flannel that I had already sewn a seam in. So when I was at the retreat, I sewed it like a pillowcase, slid it over the top of this inexpensive little wardrobe frame, and now I have a portable design wall. And I have a wonderful large room, but the truth about my room is I don't have wall space. I have windows and doors and my sewing tables and cabinets, and the only design space I had was on the closet doors in the hall. Well, a good design wall, pardon me, let me drop this down. The sun's shining right in my eyeballs. And, but, I mean, I'm not going to complain because, thank goodness, we have sunshine. It rained so much at the retreat. I swear I was growing mildewed. But I don't have a good design wall. And to have a good design wall, you've got to be able to stand back 8 or 10 feet and take a look at what you're designing. The beauty of this little thing is I can move it here while I'm sewing and put things on it. And then I can move it away and look at it from a distance and see if the block is working. So I'm very excited about that. And I think every once in a while, a little wisp of brilliance zooms past. And if I'm fast, I can grab it and use it before it's gone again. So, okay. Yeah, the stained glass. Oh, gosh. Yes, you've got to. I'm talking about Bonnie saying the stained glass might work with her church fabric. I mean, my goodness, you're looking at a church. That might be beautiful. And you know what you could do is you could put the steamosine too, that one side sticky and the one side you can iron on so that you can kind of place it around. And so think about that. That would be lovely. And then cut it on the bias. Cut your stained glass edging on the bias so that way you can kind of bend it around the corners or whatever. All right, let's see. What's on my 3-tiered rolling cart? I got stuffs to show y'all. Okay. I'm so glad we can see you too, Michelle. I was telling them about how you do good about making your half square triangles larger and trimming them down. So, and oh, that's another thing I was going to tell you. You can make half square triangles 2 at a time. I prefer to make them 8 at a time. So let's say you wanted a 3.5 inch half square triangle. Cut the fabric 9.5 inches to 2 squares. And then by the time you go up one side and down, and then up the other diagonal and down, and then cut it perpendicular right across the centers, you've got 8 half square triangles. That's how I'm doing my grandson to be his new quilt. So, okay, let me show you all my stuff. I'm just trying to catch up. I have such a good memory. Sometimes, Michelle, but thank you. So, I always say it's like the Rolodex is spinning, but I just can't stop it where I need to see what I need to see, to remember what I need to remember. So, it's so good. So the border, she wanted to know, Kim Smith wanted to know how the border is pieced. I wonder if you can look up John Flynn braided border. See if they still have it. I know that it was he was on, what was it was when Alex Anderson was on HGTV, and they had a quilting show called So something, and he was on. So this would have been back in the 90s. So look and see John Flynn braided border, and hopefully somewhere you'll still find it, because it was quite simple. It's almost like a rail fence, and you just turn the blocks. I really think that's, yeah, it's kind of like a rail fence, because you can see here's a rail fence, and then so it's like rail fence sections, and then triangles cut like halfway at the rail fence. See, here is a triangle right there, and then there is the rail fence. So it's not too complicated. Just do a bunch of rail fence blocks and some triangles, and keep the same color in the center each time. And then it just will kind of go around the corner and zigzag around, and it's quite pretty. Now, I can tell you with certainty why my border is wavy. Because I made that back when I was still doing costuming at the museum, and I believed in sewing fast and furious. And so by sewing fast and furious, I bet you I didn't cut anything to correct dimension. I was kind of sloppy back then, and I bet you my 1/4 inch varied all over the place. I just thought it was a suggestion. I didn't know you were supposed to do it. So that's why my border is wavy. And I have learned now, and especially I have learned to use a shape cut ruler. Let me grab it. If you want to improve your quilting, a shape cut by June Taylor. And I think, Melissa, what's that other company that also does the slotted ruler? These will improve your quilting more than anything else you can do. They're easy to hold down and easy to cut a perfectly straight and accurate cut. Plus, they take 50% off the time of my cutting of fabric, because once you put this here, you just, if you need 2.5 inches, you go 2.5, 5, 7.5, 10. Boom. And I have them bigger than this and smaller than that. So I highly, highly, highly recommend. Melissa has a different kind, and I'm trying to think the name, the maker, but hers looked really good and had the kind of, had the, I'm not crooked. I'm slanted, but not crooked. I missed Bonnie. So Anyway, you see the wall quilt is the strawberries. That's a no, not Judy. Jill Lilly from Utah. And you go look at her patterns. They're absolutely precious. So this one's a strawberry one. I have one that's watermelon too. And she just has such a joy about her. So it's Jill, I think then Lily. But if you look up Jill Lilly, you will see her site and all her patterns. So, okay. Yeah. So I wanted that wavy border. So Creative Grids. Thank you, Melissa. She's so smart. Her and my Bonnie, I don't know what I'd do without them. So Creative Grids. Yep. And it's wonderful the way they're marked, and they have non-slip backs, which is wonderful. So, yep. And they have it so you can line it up. So you can do everything from 1/4 of an inch on up. So that's wonderful. There's also a mark so you can do, 1/4 of an inch. No, I spent most of a week with her. She's a smart cookie. In fact, my cell phone jammed up, froze up, and I couldn't reach anyone. And I had a leak in my camper, and my cell phone froze up, and my dog was at home very sick, and I was a mess, and it was raining and flooding. Oh my gosh. Because I told you my camper flooded. It was awful. And I was sitting there going, I need to call Mark. I need to reach Mark and find out how my dog is doing. She did not eat for 4 or 5 days. That's scary, especially when you're, 10, 11 pounds. That's scary. And so Melissa, Miss IT Wonder, these smart ladies. What can I say? She took the phone and bip, 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 5 minutes, boom. Here you go. It works fine now. Like, how did you do that? I looked this over. How did you get the back off and the battery out? I couldn't see a place. She said, well, you see this little tiny infinitesimal arrow? Really? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. So what I've got to show you, a few goodies. And I wish Bonnie could get on here and show it, because she's been getting some cool stuff, and I love watching what people got. We had a vendor, Judy Merrill of JAM Fabrics. Wonderful, wonderful lady. Now this panel was like $12, I think. But her regular fabrics are $4.99 a yard. Can we say spend money, ladies? So this is the panel, and I just thought the colors are just so exquisite. Then I bought another panel just because I love these colors, and I love peacocks. Love them. All right. So is this the prettiest thing? I'm thinking major embellishing, major thread painting, maybe some little jewels, Swarovski crystals, probably the generic version of those ladies. But anyway, this is pretty, and I've got a lot of the fabrics that go with it. I mean, just look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Those are my colors. So I bought that one too. Then I bought 2 yards of this to go with the other thing, but also to use in my landscape quilts, because, oh my gosh, this is full of fall color and pattern. So can we say easy? And then one of the prizes, we have a prize lady, Becky, who's so good. And she works all year to find prizes for us. So the fabric lady had given the guild a bolt of fabric. So she cut us all a piece so we could have prize fabric. Then I bought these because I said, what is it, 3 weeks to Christmas? I want to make the gift tags out of this fabric. Yeah. I mean, am I nutty? I don't think it'll be that hard. I'm going to glue it on cardstock, cut it into a cute little tab shape, punch a hole in it, put a ribbon on it on the paper side, write who it's for. But I better get busy. All right. Then I bought this little fat quarter just because it was cute and it was only $1.50. So I bought a fat quarter. You see there's a common thread through the fabrics I buy. Here was another fat quarter, and I wish you could see this is all glitter, all that wonderful new metallic stuff they put on fabric now. And look at this. Is this just too pretty or what? I love this. And you know what? If you can't see, it's a beautiful great purple. Purple. And because I'm a practical kind of gal, 5 yards of white, 5 yards of black, because that was my price. So that's what that is. All right, let me put this up real quick. But I took $120 and spent a little more than that. But anyway, then let me bring all this over. I came home with a tote full of prizes and, little gifts and things, but I'm going to show you my favorite parts now. So we had a gift exchange, and my gift exchange woman is very, very, very talented. And she evidently put this cover on this. And let me show you. It's wonderful old antique sewing machines. And the neatest thing is it's padded, and the fabric, it must be like a double knit because it's real easy to grasp. And this is a nice, you hear that? This is nice. Wonder who makes it. Mugsy, it's called.